Hello, here we go. It's the Kopite podcast.
What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Kopite podcast on another opposition overview. I'm Mick, and I'm joined by big Southampton fan Dan Hargraves from the Saints View. How are you doing, Dan, mate? Are you all good?
Yeah, no, good. Happy New Year to everyone watching. Hopefully it's a bit better than the last calendar year. But yeah, no, looking forward to having Saints back in action. I think we've had a decent couple of days off. I think the Monday night football helps both teams. And yeah, no, looking forward to the game.
Yeah, especially like we'll come to it, but both teams have got some injuries that we could do with an extra couple of days rest to try and get those legs a bit fresher. But yeah, we'll jump straight in and start with obviously Southampton. I think you're 9th on 29 points. Your most recent form contains 2 draws against West Ham and Fulham, so pretty similar to Liverpool in that vein of form in terms of our draws to West Brom and Newcastle. Your last win was against Sheffield United on 13th of December. How do you feel your season's gone so far overall?
Overall, the season's been excellent. I mean, it's a shame we're 9th at the moment, but I think 26 points, I think the level with something like 4, 5, 6 teams, which kind of emphasises how crazy this season's been. But yeah, overall, I think generally expectations have been exceeded. We all thought we were going to have a better time of it after the way we ended last season, especially after the restart. But I don't think anyone would have expected to be top of the league for a day or however long it was, competing for those European spots. Obviously, you mentioned the 2 draws there, defeat to Man City as well, and another draw to Arsenal over the last couple of games. It's dipped a little bit, but overall the season's been cracking, and I'm still confident that we're going to end very high in the table.
Yeah, like we said, we were talking before we went on air. Like the last game I watched, the full 90 minutes of views was the 2-0 against, obviously 2-0 up against United, and then they come back, and I was just like, that absolutely ruined my Sunday. That game, I was just like, he played so well, and it was just kind of like, I think it's just like obviously some of your players maybe showing a bit of inconsistency, and they managed to get back in the game and get 3 and push on and get the win from there. But yeah, apart from that, like I've saw quite a few of you guys' games, and like say you've got some absolutely top quality players, which we'll come on to. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on obviously Hasenhüttl. What have you made of his since he came into the club? What have you made of his tenure?
His tenure's been excellent. I think even when we were struggling, sort of when he came in, the start of last season, he's always been the man for the job, in my opinion. I think when the news came out, and I say it to all these fans when I come on these shows, I'll never forget the day where Mark Hughes was sacked and he was linked with us. He just left Leipzig. They've gotten them to second in the Bundesliga after being promoted. Obviously, they've had the money to spend, but he's an exceptional coach. And I was like, God, if we can get him, that's a real statement of intent. And then he came, got us to safety that season. It was a shame that we started so poorly last year, but since basically 2020, we showed how good of a team we can be with the high press. When you compare him to managers like Koeman and Pochettino, for example, I think he's quite possibly now in higher regard with some fans than those 2 individuals, just because I think he's had less to work with. In terms of quality, I think he's improved a worse crop of players. When under Koeman, you've got the likes of obviously a lot of our players that we had under Koeman and Pochettino, but the likes of Mane, Van Dijk, to name 2 there. Whereas now I think he's just improved a lot of average players and made them decent Premier League quality.
Yeah, and I was just looking at some of the signings he's made. I think one player that I do look at from you guys is Gineppo, which is for me is a steal at 15 mil. I was just going to ask you when do you think we'll sign him for 30 next year?
I don't think Klopp will be interested just yet. He's struggled to adapt to the Premier League, but yeah, there's a player in there without a shadow of a doubt.
Definitely. Yeah, because what I've seen of him, like he's got all the tools, hasn't he? Like pace, he's got trickery, he's got skill. It's just maybe the final end product, which it reminds me of obviously Sadio Mane when he was at Southampton.
A lot of comparisons have been drawn between Sadio Mane and Moussa Gineppo, especially comparing, when Mane first came in. I'd still say Mane was the better player then, but yeah, there's loads of quality there. He just needs to work on himself a little bit. Just a bit of patience, I think we need with Gineppo. But yeah, like you say, he'll be a player, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously you touched on as well before we started recording about Theo Walcott. What did you make of that signing? Did that come out of the blue a little bit? Are you happy with it?
Definitely out of the blue. Definitely out of the blue. I think if he hadn't been an academy product, I would have just been a bit like, what the F, to be honest. Because, when you're signing a player on loan from Everton, he's not getting into the team. I think he's 31. Hasenhüttl prides himself on working with young players. It just didn't really make sense. But fair play to him. He's come in and done fantastically well. I'd say he's probably had 2 or 3 average games, and all the others he's been exceptional. He's provided a bit of experience that we needed. Of course, he adores the club, and it's just nice to have that feeling back. Where you've got players in your starting 11 that knows what it means to be a Southampton player. Who cares about the club, and particularly with him, you see it against Arsenal. He scores a goal. He's been at that club for 11 years or whatever, and he still celebrates. He's scoring. I don't think he would have done that if it was for any other team. There's definitely a special connection between him and Southampton, and it's great to have him.
Yeah, and I think he's I think like you said with Nathan Redmond as well, like we haven't touched on yet. He showed a bit of an inconsistency, Walcott, didn't he? Especially like Everton and stuff, and he's got that raw pace. Obviously, he's lost a bit of that pace now, but that pace he's always had. He's always been a real threat. So it is nice to see him back at you guys and doing well, and he'll definitely be a threat on Monday night against us, I'm sure. But another player that obviously we know quite well is Danny Ings, coming up against his old club. Like, I think he's got six goals, 3 assists in 12 games. It's just a shame about his injury record, isn't it? Because he's vital to you guys in terms of scoring goals. He scores every type of goal imaginable, doesn't he? He's great.
Yeah, no, we absolutely adore him. It's been a difficult season this year, I think, for Danny so far. Obviously, 6 goals is great, but you just feel like he could have had a couple of more if he hadn't had a few niggling injuries. He came off against Aston Villa after scoring an absolute worldie, and I think he was out for a couple of games. And we didn't really miss him. I thought Shea Adams and Walcott did well up front together, but of course, when you've got your best player available, you want him to be playing. He's come back. He looked a bit leggy against Brighton, a little bit leggy against Sheffield United. Had another couple games out. Came back for the West Ham game a couple of days ago, and again doesn't look as sharp as he can be. I think it's just going to take him a few games to get back to his own self. But one of the best strikers in the league without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm so happy for him that he's doing well, because he's he obviously came to Liverpool with a good pedigree from Burnley, and we know he was going to be a good player, but he just got absolutely blighted with so many bad injuries, and I think that's kind of the way his whole career's gone, I think, hasn't it? And obviously he's got a few injuries for you guys as well, but it's good to see him back, and I imagine he'll be extra fired up for Monday night to prove a point, because that's obviously what you want to do against your old club, to make them think, oh, why do we sell him? But yeah, got nothing but good words about Danny Ings. He's a great player, isn't he? But how do you expect that in terms of setup? How do you think you'll set up on Monday night? Because we've got a pretty good record at St Mary's. I was having a look earlier. Like, your last home league win against us came in a 3-2 win in March 2016 when a certain Sadio Mane scored 2. But how do you think you'll set up on Monday night then?
I don't think there's going to be any difference in terms of what we've been playing all season. It'll be a 4-2-2. Looking to press, win the ball back in dangerous areas, high up the pitch. I don't know. There might be a sense of try and keep the ball a bit more, maybe sit back slightly. But I think from what we've seen against, the so-called big teams, especially, Liverpool are the biggest team that we can face at the moment. We haven't really gone away from our core values. I think regardless of whoever we've played, we've kind of stuck to the same system. It's biting us in the arse a couple of times, against Spurs. We got absolutely cut apart by playing the high pressing, high line system, but generally we've been fine with it, and that's why we've got so many good results. So I don't think there'll be much difference to how we've been playing all season.
I think now that you've said that, has confirmed what I thought. Like, obviously, I know Hasenhüttl's got his ways, and he sticks to them, which is, you've got to commend him on. It's the same with Klopp in a way in that regard. But I think that'll suit us, because we came up against West Brom and Newcastle, which has just basically been, well, Allardyce was 10 men behind the ball. Steve Bruce was pretty much 9 for most of it. So it'll be definitely an open game, won't it? In terms of I'm hoping it'll be like a basketball game where it's just attack versus attack all game. I'm hoping that's going to be like that to you.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that. I think it's going to be, to be honest, regardless of being a Saints fan, I think it's going to be a fascinating game. I think it's going to be a really, really good watch.
Yeah, and the only thing is, like I said, our away form, like we've won 11 points from a possible 24 in the league so far, which is if we've got any hopes of retaining the Premier League title, we need to change that very quick. Especially with like we said, Danny Ings up front's going to cause load of problems. I mean, you touched on his sharpness, but he's going to be fired up, and whoever he faces, albeit it may be Fabinho and whoever plays alongside him, he's going to cause them a lot of problems with his pace and pressing, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, he's going to be fit. He'll be starting. So yeah, I think what you said earlier about being fired up as well to play against Liverpool, I think that will definitely be in the back of his mind. Obviously, he scored in the home game last year. But I think this one definitely. I think, now that we've improved, I feel like obviously I don't want to say we're on level with Liverpool because we're not. We're nowhere near, but I think we're closer. I think it'll be a bit more of a competitive game this time.
Yeah, definitely. And you just reminds me of that Ings goal when if it wasn't Adrian who passed on the ball. Oh God, at least it's Alisson in tomorrow. But the only thing I'm worried about as well is set pieces, and I know we'll come to the miss Vestergaard shortly, but like Ward-Prowse's deliveries into the box is a reason why I think we might see Nat Phillips alongside Fabinho tomorrow, just for that pure aerial. It gives us some aerial strength. But missing Vestergaard, and you're also missing Nathan Redmond, aren't you? Which is that for me. I know you've said you're not Nathan Redmond's biggest fan overall in terms of his blowing hot and cold, but Vestergaard especially, he's a huge miss, isn't he?
Vestergaard is monumental miss, which if you told me I'd be saying that even in September, I would have been like, you're having a laugh, because the way he started his Saints career was so poor. He came in like 2018, woeful. Last season, same thing. He was one of the starting 11 for the 9-0 against Leicester. Like he just looked like he had no future at the club. But fair play to him. This high pressing system's worked for him, and yeah, he's improved massively. I think he was included in a couple of team of the season so far, team of the year in one area, which was a big statement. Yeah, he's been so good. I can't speak about him enough really at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean in terms of like his ability on the ball, but like in terms of a physicality, he's an absolute monster, isn't he? Like he wins everybody. He is like Van Dijk in a way. He just wins every header, and it's just that.
So all I was going to say is, which is why it was so frustrating when he came in. How poor he actually was, because he's 6'7". He should be winning basically any header, any sort of ball into the box that comes his way. But the amount of times he was getting out jumped by average players, let alone world class players, was a joke really. And now he's kind of sorted that out. He's comfortable on the ball. He pings a 30-40 yard pass like it's nothing. Like he's just been superb.
Yeah, so who's going to replace him, do you think, in terms of setup? Is it Stevens and who was the other guy you had at the last game? Yeah, so do you imagine it'll be those two again?
We signed a centre-back in the summer called Mohamed Salisu, who has been dubbed as one of the brightest prospects in Europe at the moment in terms of defenders. So it's been a bit of a frustration that he's not been given his debut yet. We've hardly seen him, to be honest. But no, Ralph came out and said that the cup game against Shrewsbury next Saturday, is going to be the one for him. So yeah, it'll be Jack Stevens. It's just a bit more experience, at the back. Jack's come in, had 2 clean sheets whilst Vestergaard's been out. He's been decent. He knows the system. He knows how to play in the 4-4-2 or 4-2-2. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, no complaints really.
Yeah, definitely. But that'll be an interesting one. Obviously, it's nice that you've got some options there. Obviously, we've been absolutely blighted with our injuries like Van Dijk and Gomez, and then Matip's out as well. So we're down to absolute bare bones with Fabinho back there, and then either a choice of Nat Phillips or it'll be Nat Phillips or Reece Williams alongside him tomorrow. So that's going to be an interesting one coming up against the Danny Ings, who's I'm always worried about every time we face him. But in terms of who you're worried about, who are you most worried about facing on Monday night?
It's got to be Sadio. Always Sadio. I can't speak about him enough in high regard. I just think he's absolutely superb. You know, he's one of the few players who left Southampton for Liverpool, you know, still on good terms with the club. You know, we all understood that he was going to go and become a world beater. You know, there was no complaints from him. You know, none of this handing in a transfer request, all of this nonsense, you know, that we kind of had with Van Dijk, for example. I think he's an absolutely sensational player. And yeah, for me, it's always going to be him. Kind of like with the Danny Ings example, you know, always want to score against your former club. But if I wasn't going to go with him, I'd probably say Firmino.
Yeah, and I mean we've not been great recently attacking wise, especially like in the last 2 games. So I'm hoping it's Danny Ings versus Sadio Mane tomorrow, and we see it. We see a good game.
Salah as well. I don't know how I forgot him, but Salah as well. It's the typical front three.
Yeah, he's a different beast altogether. He's just an absolute monster. But he's been a bit off form as well in the last couple of games. But so I'm hoping we'll at least see a bit of. We just want to see an attacking game. We want to see because like you said, Hasenhüttl isn't gonna turn up and go right 10 men behind the ball and counter. He's gonna stick to his guns. So that's why, like I said, it's gonna be an interesting game just for that aspect, that 2 similar styles coming against clashing, and we should see I'm hoping we see some fireworks. I think we'll wrap up there then. Dan, what score predictions before we go?
I can see loads of examples. I can see us winning it 1-0 or whatever, just close one. I think it'll be a good game. I think both teams will be in it. I do think Liverpool will win it though, so I'll go 2-1 Liverpool. I just feel like it's come at the wrong time for us at the moment with a few injuries and the Christmas period. I think we'll be in it. I don't think we'll get battered, but I think Liverpool might just nick it.
Yeah, and I'm glad it came at this time. Obviously, like you're missing Vestergaard, which is key. You're missing Redmond. That, like you said, Danny Ings isn't fully there yet. But if we would have faced him earlier in the season, I would have been really worried, especially with our, like I said, our personnel at centre half would have been a severely mixed match battle. But yeah, thanks again, Dan, for coming on. So we can find you on the Saints View on YouTube. Yeah,
absolutely, Saints View on YouTube.
Yeah, and I've got a little video I need to do for you. I'll do that in a minute when we finish there. But yeah, go and check Dan's channel out, Saints View. Got some great content on there. I'll be back again on Monday night at 7 for the team news reaction. Have a boss Saturday night, everyone, and we'll see you in a bit.